Hello, it's Nikki. Welcome to episode 12 of this series, all around understanding what may be blocking and stopping you from making progress. That one day dream could start today. I know that it is easier. It's easier for sure to put together a lovely vision, write something on a piece of paper, put something away, lock it away, hope for the best, tell people about it. Like, one day I would love to do this, assign it to your bucket list, and do nothing about it. I know that that is easier because as soon as you make that first step, as soon as you say, today could be the day that I start, then you're in a sense of the unknown. You are practically, realistically, in reality, doing it. And sometimes that means you being a beginner. Sometimes that involves some vulnerability. Sometimes that means that you're not going to have all of the answers. However, I would rather be in that place at this stage of my life than continuing to kid myself that the things that I write down and I hope for the best and I have that kind of casual relationship with are going to come true magically one day. I know that I have way more power over my future, over my destiny, over what's possible if I meet it halfway. And so I would love you to grab a piece of paper and a pen, and I want you to write down your process and what's going on in your head and really identify what is blocking and stopping you from making some moves forward. So, firstly, I want you to think about the myths around getting started. You may be somebody that really builds it up, like, I don't know where to start, I don't have time, I don't have money, things like this don't happen to people like me. How am I even supposed to take the first step? I don't know what this process looks like. Honestly, if you allow yourself to turn up all those thoughts and feelings, and some of them have been crushed, some of them are working under the radar, you don't even notice them. I want you to have a moment and ask yourself, what are you telling yourself on a day-to-day basis? How are you moving through the world? What are your set of principles that really dictate the direction and the growth that you can have? The second thing that occurs is people don't change the tiniest thing or make a move because they're worried that it's going to rock the boat. I don't want to change everything. What if therefore my husband leaves me, or my children don't get the best from me anymore? Or what if I don't have to see my friends anymore? All of these things. And that is often because the narrative in the personal development, in the personal growth space, is about going all in, like make it work. I never see a guy anymore just going, look, I'm training for a marathon. They have to be training, they have to be going across deserts, they have to be doing things in an extreme level. You get to decide how you do this. And I know that I don't have the desire, and I probably don't have the energy to work at 18-hour days for the next year to prove to people that I am going all in. And so therefore, I am willing to do things a different way, to look at things in a different way and do what works for me. So when we talk about what actually it's going to take, break it down. Simplify it. Really check exactly what it is, because sometimes we can very easily catastrophize it, like, I'm not going to be able to do this. What can you do? What is the one step that you can take, that you can start, that you can introduce today? And I am going to put money, I'm not, but I would put money on the fact it's probably not going to be as difficult or as discombobulating as you think. Another thing that comes up is that it's going to hurt. And people approach their goals sometimes with this sense of like, oh gosh, it's going to be so difficult. Oh, it's going to be so hard. Oh, everything aches. How about you find that sweet spot in the moment of you connecting with the vision first rather than your reality? And this takes some fine tuning. So say you want to introduce a new fitness routine in the morning, and that involves you getting up 20 minutes earlier than you usually do. And when that alarm goes off, you have that moment of like, oh God, oh, it's so early, or I don't know, or I can't believe I'm doing this. And that is the train of thought. That's the soundtrack to what's happening. I want you, wherever possible, just to switch, go slightly up the spectrum and go, well, here we are. Day 3. I'm doing it. I said 3 days ago I was really not a morning person, and I'm still not really enjoying being a morning person, but look, I'm doing it, and already it's getting easier. Already, sometimes you need to change that narrative. The next thing that comes up is this pressure that we put on ourselves to know all the answers before we start. Now, there are some things that you can have in place, but also there are areas where not having all of the answers, not having everything planned is like one of the greatest things. That spontaneity, that like, let's see what happens. Get the basics in place. Really break it down. Like, what needs to happen? What needs to go? And how can you move to the next level? You're not going to unlock everything immediately before you understand what is required. And sometimes the fact you can't unlock all the things because you can't get there until you've done this. So I've noticed this when people talk about having children, for example. When I was pregnant with my 2 kids, it was very much like, for all sorts of different reasons. I was working on a day-to-day basis. I was like, I am 6 weeks pregnant and 3.5 days. I am 14 weeks pregnant and 6 days. And I even got to the point where I had a lot of concerns, and that's another story for another time, but I worked out what my pregnancy was as a percentage. So I could just have that sense of like I was moving slowly but surely towards that finish line. Now, I have a nearly 11-year-old now, and I mean, if I was thinking about what he would be like at 11 when I was 4 weeks and 3 days pregnant, it would just be too much. And of course, I now know what he's like at this stage because we've had those 11 years together. So I would love you to think about what are the next moments that you need to check in with, because it's so overwhelming fast forwarding so far that you don't even know what it's going to be like when you get there. I didn't even know that I was having a boy, for example. I didn't know what kind of child he was going to be. So I couldn't think about what he was going to be like in his 11th year. Finally, that sense of preparing for every eventuality before you take a move. I will never advocate putting everything at risk, and I really don't play into the like you've got to give everything and you've got to be at rock bottom and you've got to be in that state of fight or flight at every moment. But so therefore what I want you to recognize is that life can never prepare you for every eventuality. And so what we have to recognize are the pros and the cons, and the risks and the worries and the positives and the paths right now, and do the first bit first, and then get there and see how you like it, and then make adjustments and what's happening. And remember, there is always an opportunity to tweak, to edit, to refresh, to experiment, to do something. The idea here is not to do everything perfectly. You just can't. We're not wired that way. And I know when I have made the most enormous mistakes or had challenges in my life at the time, wow, it feels really tough. But when you come out of it and you analyze yourself and the situation, it very quickly can become that teachable moment. So I would love you to see how that lands today. If you haven't subscribed to the Secret Series, please do so. If you haven't watched the full workshop, again, please do so. Links are down below. Finally, if you're ready to do some great work to open this next chapter, send me a message. We'll set up a call and go from there. Lots of love. Bye.